Hello friends, welcome to this video. So in this video we will look at how to build out a very simple application which interacts with the Google Drive API in React.js. So in this application we will retrieve files from the Google Drive. We will also be able to upload files, download files, delete files, all the four CRUD operations. So this is actually the application demo that you can see on your screen. We are running it locally, interacting with the Google Drive API, and we have a login with Google button. So first of all, we need to authenticate with the Google. We need to log in with it. So once I click this button, I will be redirected to a screen, and you will basically see all the files will be fetched. You can see these are all the files which are from Google Drive. You will see that. So if I click any of these individual files, you will see these file has been uploaded on Google Drive. And we also have a upload file form as well, where you can directly upload files. And if you see these two buttons appearing, it's a download button and delete button. So if you want to download this file from Google Drive, you can click the download button, and now your image has been downloaded and it is shown. If you want to delete this, you can simply click delete button, and now that file has been successfully deleted. And if you refresh that, you will see the file will not be there. So file is gone. So it is basically, whenever you load the application, we are showing the top 10 latest files which are there on your Google Drive, and we are displaying it. And if you want to upload a file, you click the choose file button, and you select your image file or any video file, any extension file, and then click on this upload file button. So once you upload, you will make a simple get request to the API, and you can see the file is uploaded. And if you click the file, this is the link it gives you when the file is uploaded. So we basically perform all these four operations: upload, fetching, delete, download each and every file. So now to get started, I will show you the modules that we are using. So first of all, we are using this module React Google Login. So it's specifically for React.js. If you show you the modules that we are using right here, we have different components here. This is the authentication plugin. This is more module. So we have this React Google Login. This is actually the module that we are using for interacting with. And then we are also using this module, which is, let me show you, Google API GAAP script. So it is actually packaged to load the Google API script and some functions. So it has very popular module, 65,000 weekly downloads. So we are actually using these two modules. Apart from that, for building the interface, we are also using React Bootstrap, which actually allows you to integrate Bootstrap components specifically for React.js. It has got almost 1 billion downloads. So these four packages, so let me just show you how to install these. So npm I React Google Login, and then we have GAPI script, React Bootstrap, and also the base package of Bootstrap as well. So these four packages are required. So just install this. I've already installed these four packages. So what I will do, I will start this application, and I will delete everything and start from scratch. So I will delete this components folder as well. So just create a blank React.js project, and we have this. So we'll basically create the functional component. So if you just refresh now, it will hot auto reload, and you will see this app right here. So now to get started here, we just need to declare some variables here. First variable will be, just make it global so that it is accessible in all the program. So first of all, we need to have the client ID. So this information will be coming from Google Cloud Console. So you do need to have an account inside Google Cloud Console. Create an account, and then you need to enable the Google Drive API inside enabled APIs and services. Just go to it, and just search for this API, which is Google Drive API. Just you can search for this API. So I have already enabled this API. So once you click enable, you will just need to click enable button and then go to manage, and then you need to go to the credentials options and just create a client ID. So inside this create credentials, just select this option OAuth client ID, and in the application type you need to select web application, and here in the authorized JavaScript origins you need to paste the URL of your home page. So my URL is localhost 5173. I will copy this URL and simply paste it in the authorized JavaScript origins, and also in the authorized redirect URI also need to paste the same URL, and you don't need to write this trailing slash here, just, and then click on this create button. So once you click the create button, it will give you your client ID. This is will be your client ID, and you need to copy this and simply paste it. So this will be your client ID, and let me previously delete the client IDs that I created. And also for this application, we also need the API key as well. So right here inside create credentials, you will also see this option API key. You need to click this option. It will give you your unique API key. So don't copy my information. I will delete everything after this video. So just create your own API key and client ID. So simply you need to copy to clipboard. So you can store this API key globally. It's totally up to you how you need to do it. So I will just make another variable which I will call that API key and store this information. So now we have two variables. We are storing this client ID and API key. And now coming back to the application, in the app, we need to have four variables. First of all, we need to keep track of the authenticated user. So we will have this variable is authenticated and set is authenticated. Initial value will be use state, we'll use the use state hook, and it will be false because the user is not authenticated when you load the application for the very first time. So it's a Boolean parameter just signifying the user is not authenticated. And then we need to have the files variable, set files. So this will be initially will be empty. So here we'll be storing all the files which we will be fetching from Google Drive. Initially it will be empty. Then we will have the variable for setting the error. So this error message, initial value will be nothing, so no error is there. And then we have the variable for keep track of which file is selected by the user. So set selected file, so which file they want to download, delete. So for that also by default null will be there. So we have declared all these four variables to keep track of it in the application using use state. So now we need to basically load the Google API client when we load the application. So you will have noticed a use effect hook, which you perfectly know. Whenever you load the application, use effect you can definitely use in React.js if you want to do something at the time of application. So this will execute for the very first time. So here we can load the API. So we can simply import first of all the Google API, and this we will be importing it from this module that we installed, Google API script. So inside this use effect we can load this. So it contains the load function, and here we can load the client, the OAuth client, and then we can initialize this function init client. This will be a custom function that we need to write. So inside this function init client we will actually be loading the user information such that we need to load the client. So loading the client, we have this function inside this init function, and here it takes an object where we need to pass all the properties that we configured, such as the API key, client ID, everything. So here we need to first of all pass the option for API key. We can pass the variable that we set, which is the API key. The second option it is the client ID. So the client ID we also configured, which will be, just make sure that you write the variables in exact case right here. So if you do make it capital, it will give you error. And then we need to pass the client ID right here. And then we have the variable for scope. Scope is actually what information you are accessing from the Google Drive API. So scope, we want all the scopes. So we will just write the scope, which is https www.googleapis.com/auth/drive, and then we have the variable for discovery docs. This will be an array, and here you actually provide the URL where you will be making these REST API calls. So we just need to provide this. So just http googleapis.com/discovery version 1 APIs drive version 3 REST. So you just need to write this exactly what I am just written. This function will get executed. That's all that we need to do right here. And now we need to have to write the JSX for embedding this login with Google button inside your application. So right here, we also need to import React Bootstrap, and we'll be using the container class. So it will automatically get imported if you see container from React Bootstrap. So we are using the Bootstrap, and the class name here will be, we will attach a Bootstrap class, which is, and then we will have a simple heading which will simply say Google API CRUD example. We will align this heading in the center position. So if you just refresh now, you will see this heading, but we do need to import the CSS file as well for Bootstrap. Without that, it will not work. So bootstrap dist CSS, bootstrap min.css. So the base CSS file of Bootstrap. So now it will align it in the center position. So after this, we need to, in the JSX, we do need to have a condition that inside curly bracket is authenticated. We have the not sign. This simply means that if the user is not authenticated, in that case, we need to show the login with Google button. So we have this variable right here. If you see, initial value is false. So now the user is not authenticated. In that case, we do need to show, we will have a ternary operator, and we will have this colon here. So this simply means that if the user is not authenticated, then we need to show the login with Google button. So we'll need to create a components folder in the source. So we'll create a components folder, and here we'll be having a auth component, auth.jsx. So we will basically make this auth, we'll import that, and this components will take 4 properties. We will basically pass, first it takes the client ID. We will actually pass the client ID that we have. Then it takes on success function, and here we will define all these functions, handle, login, success. This function will get called whenever the user is automatically logged in on success. And similarly, we have the function for on failure. If any sort of error takes place, then we will write the code for that, handle login failure. And that's all that we need to have. So now we need to define these functions right here, which is handle. Right here we can define that. Similarly, we need to define handle login failure as well. So we define these two functions, and if the user is authenticated, in that case we need to have the component which will be file list component. We need to show the total files. Again, we'll be creating another component here, which will be file list. So now we have this condition right here. If the user is not authenticated, then we are showing the login button with this component, and we are passing these three properties. If the user is authenticated, then we are showing the files. So we will do this. So first of all, we will need to tackle this. We need to write these two functions, which is handle login success and handle login failure. First of all, we need to actually write this component, which is the auth component. So this component will takes, you will see as we pass these properties, client ID, on success and on failure. So these three properties we are passing to this component. So now what we need to do, we need to write the JSX part of this. So we'll basically embed the Google login button, which will be coming from React Google login, automatically imported. So this module takes four properties. First is the client ID. We have the client ID there. Secondly, it takes the button text. So whatever label that you want to do, I will say login with Google. On success, it takes, we are having this function on success, and on failure is on failure. So it takes four properties, and also it takes two additional properties, which is cookie policy. And here we need to simply say single host origin. Just set this property, write this, and the scope, which scope that you are providing. So we again need to give the same scope right here, googleapis.com/auth drive file. So this is actually a scope, and after you do this, you will see a login with Google button appearing. You will see that we have this button. So once you click this button, you will be redirected to this account screen, where you will select your account, and then you need to, Google hasn't verified this app, but if you are doing it in your own Google account, if you see any kind of error, then you need to actually add this email address to your test user. So what you need to do, you need to go to this option OAuth consent screen, and then you need to add this email inside your Google Cloud Console account, because they provide you with this test users. I've already added these accounts right here. That's why I can test this application. This is because your application is not accepted by Google. So you need to accept test users. We need to add these test users by clicking this option and just add your email address and save it. I've already done that. So that's why I can run this application from this email address. So after this, we need to write these on login success and on login failure method. Just go to and define these methods. So this method will be responsible for getting the access token once the authentication is completed. So handle login success. So here we will first of all set the authenticated from true. So we will change it, the status of the user, from false to true. Secondly, we need to basically get the auth instance. So this is provided by this module, and we will need to sign in. So the user will sign in by this method, and in case of any error, we will set the error message, that is failed to authenticate with Google. So that's all that we need to do. And if you refresh now, click on continue and just allow the permissions. So you will not see anything. You will not see that login button because you are successfully authenticated. So now I will make a function list files. So this function will be responsible for fetching all the files from your Google Drive, the top 10 files, latest files. This function list files, so I will just define this function. So it will get the latest 10 files from your Google Drive and display it in the browser. So list files, it's a callback function. So here first of all we need to get the access token. We can create a variable right here, and then we can simply say, in this way you can get this. This module provides a function called as get token, and we will get the access underscore token. This here you need to pass this access token in each API call. We are getting this access token. Now we can actually use the fetch API, and you will fetch the files from this URL https google apis.com/drive version 3 slash files, and here we need to pass the property page size. So page size simply means how many files you want to retrieve. So I want to retrieve the top 10 files, latest files. And here you need to include the fields, such as we need to have the ID, comma, name, and the mem type of the files. So you will write like this, and then it takes an object. Here you need to pass the method. It's a simple get request. And here we need to pass the access token as the headers. So we pass a header object, and we simply pass the authorization header like this. And then we have the bearer. In this way we pass the access token, and you embed your access token. So after that it returns a promise. We can handle this using dot then, and we'll get the response. And if the response is not okay, in that case we'll throw a error that failed to let me just, so if any sort of error take place, we will basically return a message. Failed to fetch files from Google Drive. If all the things is successful, then we will simply return the response in a JSON. Then again it will actually, we can handle this using dot then, and we will get our data, and then we can console log the data and also set the files using the hook function, whatever data.files. So if you just refresh now, you will see inside, if you click this, after successfully login, you will open console. You will see an object will be returned to you. This object will have the files, top 10 files is returned to you. So if you open this object, you will see each file has its own property, mem type, the ID. So we just need to loop through all this and display it in the browser. So we have these top 10 files appearing from my Google Drive. So now to display these files, we need to go to the JSX option, and inside our component which we created file list, we need to pass this first of all this function to this component. So file list component, we need to pass the total files which will be located in the files variable. So now we need to open the file list component, and inside this component we are passing the total number of files which we need to, which is available in this files variable. So now we need to loop through. So inside the JSX, what we need to do, we need to use the list group component of Bootstrap, and inside that we will loop through, we will files map. For each file we need to have the list group item, and here we will basically pass an key parameter which is required. If you are working with map, we will pass the file.id. which is unique every time for every element. And inside this we have the row component for bootstrap, and we'll basically give it a class name of align these items in the center position. And now we'll have the column component of bootstrap, and we will display the hyperlink. So this hyperlink, we will have https drive.google.com/file/d, and then here we need to paste the file ID, which will be coming from this variable. So this needs to be template string, so just make sure backtick symbol is used, and here you need to embed your dynamic ID and /view. So this will be your anchor tag, and here we do need to pass, it should open in a new window, so target blank, and we need to basically pass a name as well. So the file name which will be shown, file.name. So that's all. If you refresh now, you will see the total number of files which will be displayed. Uh, Let me see. File this component we are displaying. We are calling this function which is list files. Just wait, let me see what is the problem. Guys, the error was really simple. I was not included the module that the file list component we weren't including. That was the error. So you just need to import this component using this import statement. I was not doing that, that's why I was getting that error. And now if you just include that component and again click the login with Google button, you will see the top 10 files from your Google Drive account will be displayed, and you can see that. You can individually click them and you will be redirected to the actual file. So now we need to show the buttons as well for actually downloading or deleting these two files side by side. So now we need to show these buttons. So we just need to modify the JSX for this. So right inside your component uh, file list component, we will be passing the functions which will be responsible for downloading. We'll pass a second attribute download file and delete file. So these two additional attributes will be passed. Just make it this change right here and write in the JSX. After this, we will side by side, we again have another column component, and we will be giving some bootstrap classes to it, deflex, and it will have a gap of 2. So two buttons will be shown. So the first button, which will be for download, and then the second button for deleting. So we will have these two buttons. We just need to give some classes to this. So this variant will be of primary, and we will also be binding a on click. So when we click these buttons, we will execute the function which we are passing, which is download file. We've passed the ID of the file, so file.id, and then we'll pass the name of the file as two arguments to this function, which is download file. And same goes with the delete button. So this time the variant will be of danger, and we will also be binding an on click. So when you click the delete button, you will be calling this delete file method, and we'll passing the file ID and the file name. So we only need to pass the file ID for delete. We don't need to pass the name of the file. So now we just need to make this change in the app. Here we are calling this file list component, and we need to attach these two functions. First is the download file, and we need to define this function right in this component. So delete file. So these two functions we need to define right here. So we will define these functions. Function to download the file. So we'll simply have a function. So this will be for responsible for downloading the file, and so this, let me just see what is, yeah. So here we are accepting the file ID and the file name as two arguments, and same we will make another function this time for deleting. So you simply say delete file, and here we only be accepting the file ID. If you make this change, you will see these two buttons appearing, download and delete, right side by side. So once you click the button, nothing happens because we do need to write the code for this. So for downloading the file from the Google Drive, you need to make a post request. So here again you will need the access token. So you will simply get the access token by again this method. So after getting the access token, now we can use this access token to make a fetch call. So with this URL, googleapis.com/drive version 3 files. So you again need to use the backtick symbol. You need to dynamically paste the file ID. So here we will paste the file ID. You will say file ID, and then for downloading you need to add a special attribute right here, question mark, and then you need to say alt is equal to media, and then you need to pass an object right here. We need to pass the access token as well. Again use the authorization header, bearer, and then the access token. So this will actually return the promise by dot then. So again we can have a return if statement. If the response is not okay, then we simply say fail to download the file. If the response is okay, then we need to convert this into a blob. You can simply say return blob, response blob. We'll convert this to a blob so that we can download this. So again it will return the promise we can handle, and then we will have this blob, and now we just need to download the file. So for downloading it, we need to having this blob. You will use this blob. You have this function create object URL, pass the blob, and then we will create the anchor element. This is a very standard way. If you want to download any file in the browser, you create this element dynamically, which is the anchor element, and then we need to set the file name and the href attribute. So we say that link.download file name, whatever is the file name. So this we are getting it, this variable file name. So then we need to add this element. We simply say document body append child, and we will append this link, and then click it dynamically, link.click, and then remove it. After clicking it, remove child link. So this is all that we need to do, and we have this URL, and sorry we haven't. You also need to do link.href, the exact URL that we need to download. So that's all, and if you test it out, if you want to click the download button, So if you click the download button now, you will see the file will get downloaded. So this is the exact file that you see. Now we need to do the same thing for the delete as well. And if I click the delete button, I need to delete the file. So for deleting the file, it's really easy. We will again need to pass the access token. So I will simply paste that. So access token again we'll be getting, and then again this time we will again make a fetch call, and the URL will be the same here, slash drive version 3 slash files. Just make it backtick symbols so that we can use the ID here in the request slash files, and then you need to provide the ID that we want to delete. So again it takes an object. This time the method again will be post. Sorry, this time this will be delete method. So method is delete, and again we need to pass the headers, which will be the authorization, which is bearer, and then you paste your access token. So this will actually simply return the response. Here we don't need to display anything. So if the response is okay, then we just need to refresh the list. So if the file is deleted successfully, then we need to set the files again. Previous files, we just need to delete this file. So previous files dot filter, and the actual file we need to remove it. So file dot id is not equal to the file id that we got. So essentially what we are doing, we are deleting this file from the files array that we have using this filter method, which is available in JavaScript. So if any sort of error take place in the else block, we can show a error message that failed to delete the file. That's all. So if you refresh now, and click the delete button, so you will see that file will be deleted. And so in this way you can delete the file as well. So now we will look at the operation to upload the file to Google Drive. So for uploading file, we need to create a separate component. So just go to the components folder and just create a separate one, which is file upload JSX, and you have again a functional component. So now we need to include this component in the JSX. So right here, before the file list component, we will have the file upload to show a simple form to the user. So here we'll be passing four things to this component. First is the selected file. We will pass this variable that we have. So which file is selected by the user, and then we have the set selected file. This will again be this variable set selected file. The actual function which will be responsible for the hook function, and then these function upload file. This function I will create. This will be the custom function to upload the file to Google Drive. And this list files, this again is a function that we created to actually get all the files from Google Drive, the top 10 files. So we are also passing this function to this one, so to refresh the list. So these four properties we are passing. So now we need to define the upload file function. So right here, if you see function to upload the file, so we have this function upload file. So in the file upload component, if you see, are basically passing these four properties. First is the selected file, then the function to actually set that selected file. The third function is upload file function, and the fourth one is the list files function. So all these are functions, these are the actual variable. So now in the JSX, we will be having the div tag, which we will be including these bootstrap classes. So inside this, we will have the simple form, user form. So form control. So inside this, basically, this will be a simple input where we'll be accepting the user input type file. We'll be binding an on change. So when the file is selected by the user, we will use this function which is passed set selected file, and we'll basically be passing the file which is e.target files. So whatever file is selected by the user, we are setting this, and then we also have the style property. We're giving the max width property to be 300 pixel. So after this, we will have these two buttons. First button to be upload the file. So we will have these two buttons. So this button will be for uploading the file. So the variant here will be success, and we'll be binding an on-click listener which will be upload file. So when you click this button, this function will be executed. And if you want to refresh the list, we will have the second button which will be responsible for refreshing the list. So this list files will get executed when you click the button. So again, if you refresh now, you will now see this form appearing, the choose file button. Once you are authenticated, you will see this option to upload the file as well. So now we need to make this function which is the upload file. So once you click the upload button, now to upload the file, we have made this function which is this one. So inside this function for uploading the file, it's a little bit complicated, but still it's very easy. So here we first of all check if the file is not selected by the user, then we will set the error message that will simply say to the user that please select a file to upload. That's all, and then we will return, we will not execute the code. And if the file is selected, then we need to create a metadata object, and here we will be storing the name of the file, selected file dot name, inside this object file metadata. And then we need to create a form data. This is a very simple way by which you can upload files to the server. We create this form data constructor which is available for every browser, and it contains a method append. So inside this object it contains this method append. So we need to append the information of the uploaded file. So first will be metadata. You can call this anything. So here we pass the blob constructor. So you will basically use json.stringify to convert the JavaScript object to a JSON string. And here you pass this file metadata. Essentially, you are passing the name of the file. The second object it takes is the type of the file. So this will be a simple JSON file. You just need to provide that. And the second property in the form data object we need to append is the actual file. So the selected file, the blob. So these two things we need to append, and now we need to pass this form data object in the fetch API request. We'll make a simple post request slash upload slash drive slash version 3 slash files, and here you need to put a question mark, and then you need to say upload type is equal to multi-part. So this is the actual request we are making, and then it takes this. We need to pass an object. So here the method here will be post, and then we again need to pass the headers. So here authorization, so bearer, and here we can pass the access token once again. So you can directly pass it without storing it in a variable, so like this. And this time we also need to pass the body as well, because essentially we are uploading the file, so we need to pass the form data in. This is the actual body, so just make this change right here. We have put extra a. So after this will actually return a promise, so we can handle this using dot then. First of all, we need to convert this response coming to JSON. Again, this will return a promise, so you can use a dot then. So here your response will be coming, and then we can set the error message to nothing, and again we can set the selected file to be null. Just reset the form and then refresh the list. So again we'll be calling this method list files. So that's all that we need to do. If you refresh the application now and click the button, and if you want to upload a file, you will select your image file or any file that you want to upload. Click the upload file button. So you will basically see it will make the post request and your file will get uploaded, and it will refresh. And if you click this, and you will see the actual link of the uploaded file. So the file is successfully uploaded to Google Drive. You can download this by clicking the download button. So this is your file. You can also delete that as well. So the file is deleted. So in this way, guys, you can make this Google Drive CRUD operations. We can create, read, update, delete. All the 4 operations we can perform using the Google Drive API inside React.js. So all the source code will be given in the description of this video. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button, subscribe the channel, and also do check out my website as well, freemediatools.com, which contains thousands of free tools regarding audio, video, and image. And I will be seeing you in the next video.